All right. So, tip number four, we have just some additional tips here for managers and other leaders. And our overall tip for success is actively offer support to your team. And the first sub tip there is make sure your team has the tools they need to do their work effectively and comfortably.
Yeah, I know each company's going to do it differently. Some people do a reimbursement. Some people, if you're working remotely, you're responsible for all of your equipment or your desk, chairs, stuff like that. But you can also just provide, if it's the first time someone has worked remotely. So there can be things like you can give them checklists, things to ask them. Because if you've never worked remotely, you don't like, we've worked remotely so long. I'm like, I know how I like my situation. But as we were helping people during the pandemic and getting their home offices set up, there were things that, I'm like, oh, check this. Do you have this? How are you handling this? Which way is your desk? All those little things. And really, it starts with not telling everybody you can give a little guidance, but asking what they have and what they need.
Yeah. I mean, is it a camera? Is it a microphone? Is it a display? Monitors? What type of computer? Is it a certain software set suite that they need on the computer?
VPN
Um,
access, whatever it is.
yeah, I think that the big thing there is don't just assume that they're good or they'll ask you if they need something. I think your idea about like having the as a manager or a leader, you should be like, here are the things that we want to make sure this person has to be able to be effective and comfortable.
Yeah, and cross-reference it, double check with make sure all the onboarding process worked well, that they did get their computer or, whatever it is. So just as managers, just don't assume that everybody has it and knows what to do with it. Even the things like when you say the tools they have, also make sure do they know how to use all the tools. You're not going to see them struggle. You might see the effects of the struggle, but just in that check-in, be like, okay, is there anything else you need? I think that transitions nicely into the next point of working with individual team members, agreeing to specific guidelines and what those key outputs are. Check for understanding when and especially early on as you're developing that rhythm of work. Do they understand the task? Do they understand how to reply to it, how to submit to it, how to interact with the team? And also, like, included in that, like the speed of delivery. Because I've worked with people who optimized for speed, but the accuracy was subpar. It does not matter that you met the speed output, but you gave me subpar work. And so that just to be equitable as you're responding to each person's circumstances. And so just be flexible as you develop your team. So they're not coming to you fully formed, but you are, as the team leader and you're developing it, that's part of your responsibility to help them become the best they can and to do their work as effectively and productively as possible.
Yeah, and I think to me the key word here is I guess two stick out to me: individual and equity. Not everybody's the same. People can be similar, but nobody's going to be exactly the same. And you also have to understand, like, just because you do something a certain way doesn't mean other people are going to do it that certain way. And as a leader and a manager, if it needs to be in a specific way, you need to make sure you communicate like this is how this needs to be done. It really is making sure you're clear on your expectations and what you want and what you expect, meeting with different people one on one to review those things. Some people might need certain things and some people might not need certain things. And I think that's where the equity comes in, right? It's like, doesn't mean everybody needs this. It's just the people that will benefit from it or that get help from it that need it. So it's like, yeah, I think it's that difference between treating everybody like they're the same, like it's like the same robot, right? It's like, no, we're not robots.
As a team leader of a remote team, if it's the first time you've led a remote team, if you need assistance, if you're unsure of how to work with your individual team members, if you're unsure of how to make sure that they know what they're doing, or sometimes that can be hard as the leader if you're like, oh, I'm supposed to know everything. Well, do you have channels or colleagues, people you can network to improve your skills? Because it's a little different skill set from being in person.
And then the last bullet point on this one, it's like change is inevitable, right? Things are going to change and things are going to evolve. So, but utilize that as an opportunity to encourage different professional development on the team, work together in deciding, what are some things that might be helpful or might be interesting to continue to grow that person and help them feel like they're part of the group and they're contributing part of the team. So it's like you want to continue exploring work skills to better manage the work from home experience. So like what can you continue to do? Because it's like what works now might not work later, and you want people to be able to continue to grow and evolve.
Right. And then with that, if they do take their classes or they're working on a skill, what are some ways you, as the manager, as the leader, can help them integrate the new learning with their current practice? Because that's the thing I see as well. Sometimes we just kind of go through the motions of like, oh, we assign, oh, here's a communication class for you. Oh, here's a this class for you. But just the sitting through a training in person or listening to the videos online, that is just one level of learning. So how are you actually implementing that? So that's one of the things that I would be looking for as, as the manager is working with a team to develop that team.
I think we're ready to go into our last tip.